As we can see from these graphs right here, we need to be increasing shareholder value. That's our #1 problem right now. So KPIs are more money in, which increases shareholder value. I am the shareholder. More money out to shareholders, which means I get to buy a Ferrari. Are there any questions? Darren.
Have you guys thought about increasing revenue by 6-7%?
Shut up, Darren. There was a time when the weight of steel meant something, when the sound and the clang of a fabricator's hammer told a story of men who built instead of just talking. Before plastic and shortcuts replaced craftsmanship, we built products that lasted, products that could take a beating day after day and then come back asking for more. And that spirit, that grit, didn't vanish. It just needed to find its way home. And here, surrounded by dust, brass, and the echoes of progress, I found one. Because on the range, nothing's pretend. Everything is earned. Every round, every spent casing, every impact, they all speak the same language: proof. You see, the Mod 1 trap at surface level might look simple. It is, after all, just another containment device, another hunk of metal, but proof is always deeper than what's seen on the surface. And this isn't an ordinary bullet trap. It is purpose-forged, precision-built, and undeniably adaptable. A design meant to outlast, outperform, and redefine what a bullet trap can be. But I'm not just gonna stand here and tell you that. I'm gonna show you. First, starting with this, and then ending with something that I can't quite reveal just yet. So the way I'm gonna break down this video is we're gonna talk about the different cartridges. I'm gonna show this to you live on the range first, so you can get a visual demonstration of how this Mod 1 bullet trap works. But what I want to encourage you with is at the end of the video, I'm going to go through all of the features, how to adjust it, how to clean out the funnel, and how to service the trap. We'll talk about all of that at the end of the video, but I think a visual representation of what the Mod 1 is and why it's different is most important first. And we're going to start off with Centerfire handguns. And the Mod 1 bullet trap is rated for 7 yards with most standard duty issued pistols, and that would include 38 Special, 357, 380, 9mm, 40 caliber, 10mm, 45 ACP, and all of the standard duty issued pistols that departments and military units will be using. And users of the Mod 1 with proper full metal jacket or frangible ammunition, especially with handguns, can expect an insanely long lifespan from the Mod 1 bullet trap. One of the best benefits of the Mod 1 trap is the fact that it has a 24 by 36 inch rubber surface. So just like I did with the USPSA target here, you can mount your favorite targets of any shape and size within that size limitation, and you can train on them and gain a lot of training value. The reason I'm running the USPSA targets in front of the Mod 1 is I want you guys to be able to see where I'm hitting so that you can see the bullet impacts. And we're gonna pull this off and just dissect and educate a little bit on what you can expect as the bullets pass through the rubber, because that's something a lot of people are interested in. Already we can tell where the 10mm were hitting, they're bigger holes. You can definitely see where the 45 ACP was hitting, again, bigger holes. Larger cartridges, larger calibers are going to do larger holes. And let's just peel this off and show you what you can expect on the back. So right there you can see all the bullet impressions. So again, we're looking at larger holes for larger diameter bullets, but still, because of the 2-inch vulcanized rubber, those holes just shrink as the bullet goes through. They sort of do a self-healing kind of thing there, and you get a lot of lifespan out of the rubber because of the type of rubber and the 2-inch thickness that we're running. So the next thing we're gonna go into is pistol caliber carbines. That's another question a lot of folks have with the Mod 1 trap. What are the acceptable distances with pistol caliber carbines? The reality is up to 357, you would follow the exact same distance recommendations we just did right here. When you get over 357 Magnum and you get into the realm of the 41s, the 44 Magnums, things of that nature, you need to increase your distance to 15 yards. If you are shooting something like a 454 Casull or a 4570, those cartridges are going to follow our rifle distances, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So let's get into some pistol caliber carbines and show you what they look like. All right, let's inspect the holes from the pistol caliber carbines. As you can tell, I shot all around this target to place the rounds across the rubber so that we can see what happens with a little bit higher velocity because of the longer barrels that we are using with pistol caliber carbines. And just like the pistols, you're gonna see the same result. If you're using the proper ammunition, and again, we're gonna get to hollow points, flat nose, soft points, things like that in the middle of this video. If you're using proper full metal jacket or frangible ammo, you should see tiny little pinholes that sort of self-heal after the round has impacted. So now we're gonna move on to what most of our customers are using, and that would be light rifles, fighting rifles, things that you see with militaries, police, and different units across the globe. And when we're talking about bullet traps in general, if you want them to stand up to the rigors of very fast, very potent rifle fire, they have to be designed properly. And the good news is the Mod 1 is overbuilt even for that application. If you want your trap to last hundreds of thousands of rounds in a professional setting with hundreds of thousands of rounds going down range, sometimes monthly, often yearly, you've got to go with something like the Mod 1 that is beefed up and ready for that task. So when we're looking at light rifles, the distance rating in those professional applications would be 15 yards minimum. It's also important to note as we move into faster projectiles, it's important to make sure that our rubber is in good condition. And what that simply means is that you don't have any massive craters that you can see through the rubber. That is very important. We'll talk about that at the end of the video for fragmentation mitigation. But as long as your rubber is in good condition and you're using proper ammunition, you can shoot cartridges like 5.56 NATO, 300 Blackout, 5.45 by 39, 7.62 by 39, 6.5 Grendel, 6mm arc, and everything that's very similar to those cartridges at 15 yards. Now, when we start working into short actions like 308 or 6.5 Creedmoor, or you start using cartridges like 4570 or some of those larger Western straight wall cartridges like I talked about in the pistol section of this video, we need to increase that distance to a minimum of 20 yards. It's very important to keep in mind with those short actions and those very potent cowboy action style loads that if you're using them as close as 20 yards, you are going to increase the consumable life of the rubber. And it's just important to note that if you increase distance, you lower velocity, less wear and tear on the rubber. So this bullet trap is meant for all of those different cartridges, all of those different things at these close distances because of how we've built it and designed it to take that rigorous working environment. Rifles are far more abusive on the Mod 1 bullet trap than pistols, but it is designed to take it. It's designed for a long life. We're gonna pull the cardboard away and I'm gonna just show you what the different impacts look like from everything from 5.45 x 39 to 300 blackout up to that 4570. You can obviously see how big the 4570 holes are through the cardboard, but what's really neat is when you look at the rubber, the holes going through the rubber are still extremely small. So it will sort of self-heal and close up that hole even when you're using very large, very abusive rounds on the Mod 1 bullet trap. But there's a couple things to note. Rifles are far more powerful than pistols. And I was using them at the closest distance allowance possible at 15 and 20 yards. It's a little bit overkill to be running 308s, 6.5 Creedmoors, 4570s at 20 yards. It is acceptable, but there's an important thing to remember. If you are using really potent rifles at really close distances, you are going to exhibit more wear and tear on the rubber, and you could exhibit more wear and tear on the strike plate. And we'll actually go around the Mod 1 here in a second. I'm going to show you that really fast cartridges close can actually punch the powder coat off the back. Doesn't harm the strike plate at all, but there's just that much impact energy on the strike plate that you can see that powder coat kind of go off. So when you are a professional entity, a military unit, police department, and you're training maybe indoors in shoot houses, things like that, you may have people that are running larger cartridges that are still going to be engaging targets at realistic combat engagement distances. The Mod 1 is perfectly acceptable for that, but it's just important to note that the consumable components can wear out faster, including the caulk and the seals and the seams. It will make your maintenance intervals shorter. The Mod 1 will still last the same amount of lifetime for the strike plate, unless you're running something very, very, very aggressive, but it is designed specifically to handle those kinds of use case scenarios. But for normal people that are shooting indoor ranges, distances that are further are probably better suited for real training, because what I was doing with 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, and 4570 is quite overkill at 20 yards. It is acceptable, it's the closest you can shoot, but you just have to keep in mind you are exhibiting more wear and tear on the system. The other thing you're going to notice with rifle rounds, you will see more lead dust coming out around the vents and the funnel. It is very important to note that we cannot fully seal the Mod 1, because what you'll have is pressure spikes inside of the unit, which will bulge out the seams and it'll cause premature failure around the caulk and the other vent parts. So that's another perfect visualization of why you need exceptional ventilation whenever you're using the Mod 1. It is not acceptable to just shove it in your basement, put a fan in your window and call it good. That lead dust sticks to everything. So it must be used in a properly designed, approved indoor range with ventilation that was specifically designed to handle that really fine poisonous lead dust. And I cannot stress that enough. If you want to do it at home, you've got to make sure that you invest in a proper air filtration, recirculation, and something that can capture those lead particles. And the other thing you're going to notice when you're shooting very, very potent cartridges is on the strike plate itself, you can actually sometimes see the powder coat come off of the back because of that impact energy that's happening on that strike plate. It doesn't cause any harm to the strike plate itself, but you can see little circles where the powder coat just gets blown off the back because of that impact energy. This particular model, I've got a 1/2-inch AR-550 strike plate. You can opt to save a little bit of money and go with the 3/8 AR-550 strike plate. Typically, our customers that are buying those are using mostly pistols. Folks that are running heavy rifle are going to be running the 1/2-inch AR-550 strike plate. So let's come around the back of the Mod 1 real quick, and I'm going to show you a little bit about what I was talking about on that strike plate. And you can see on that back where the 4570 impacts actually removed some of the powder coat. There's no dents, there's no divots, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just a showcase of just how much energy is being transferred. I think those are 300 or 325 grain bullets that I was shooting from the 4570 at 20 yards. And at the end of the video, I'm going to talk a little bit as we get into some really, really nasty cartridges about how you can limit the wear and tear on that strike plate by simply leaning the Mod 1 forward, because again, it does have adjustable lean angles, just like our steel target systems. So if you want to further extend the life of your system, that's another phenomenal way to do it. But let's talk about the body of the Mod 1. And I'm going to show you that on the Mod 1, we can actually engage at less than perpendicular angles, which most bullet traps on the market, you cannot engage anywhere but perpendicular, perfectly 90 degrees. But the entire body of this is AR 550. So I'm gonna use my 545 by 39 Galil here. We're gonna staple up a new fresh cardboard target, and I'm just gonna do some movement drills here, shooting from really harsh angles, and show you that even if you engage the Mod 1 at less than a perpendicular angle, it's gonna take it like a champ. So now that we talked about engaging this target at an angle, we obviously see there's no issues with engaging the Mod 1 bullet trap at an angle. We're gonna talk about proper ammunition types, and what you're gonna find, and our recommendation is to always use FMJ ammo, full metal jacket. It can be solid copper, it can be lead core, but full metal jacket causes less damage on the rubber. When we start to use hollow point or expanding or flat lead nose bullets, you will find that it takes more rubber with it as it's going through that rubber medium, which is gonna cause more wear and tear to the target faster. But we're gonna demonstrate that with some 9mm frangible ammunition, which again, frangible is acceptable to use on the trap. It's not required, but it does keep the lead dust down, so you can use frange, and we'll show with the 10mm and the 45 ACP hollow point ammunition. I'll aim on different spots on the cardboard, and then we'll pull the cardboard back and just show you the difference between hollow point ammunition and FMJ. All right, I'm gonna flip the Mod 1 down, and then we're gonna inspect those bullet holes. And I thought laying this thing flat might actually give you guys a better vantage point of what we're working with here. So I did the 10mm flat point bare loads up top here. I did the 10mm hollow points right here. Down low, we've got the 9mm. These are the frangible ammo, and those are, I think, 230 grain hollow points from 45 ACP. So right here, check out the hollow point rounds from the 10mm. You can see how substantial the holes are compared to FMJ or even flat point. You can tell the flat point is much more aggressive than the FMJs that we were shooting in the middle, but look at how freaking huge those holes are. Like, that is a testament to what I was describing. If you're gonna use hollow point ammunition, it's going to start expanding the moment it hits that rubber, and it's gonna cause more wear and tear. So when we come down to the 45 ACP, you can just see how freaking substantial those holes are. Again, that's why I'm saying, if you want long life out of your ballistic rubber, you should be running FMJ ammunition. You could run frangible. All of those types of ammo are fine. If you are training with your duty ammo, you should expect that you're gonna get a little bit less of a lifespan from the rubber. It's not gonna hurt the strike plate or any of the other functions, but it is going to wear out the rubber a lot quicker. That's cool and all, but let's set this thing back up and move into some bigger cartridges. Very few bullet traps are rated for long action rifles, and the ones that are typically massive rubber blocks that weigh 1,500 pounds, and they're impossible to move around. When I was designing the Mod 1 bullet trap, one of the requirements that I set out to achieve was the ability to engage it with long action rifles at reasonable distances that law enforcement and military would engage in urban scenarios. Obviously, the closer you are, the more wear and tear you put onto the bullet trap. And there's two different ways that we rate the Mod 1 for long action rifles. And when I'm speaking of long action rifles, I'm talking about things like my 270 here, which again is not really a cartridge that's used much in law enforcement, but I'm also talking about 300 PRC or 300 Winchester Magnum. 308s again have closer ability to engage the Mod 1. They're less potent, less velocity. But when we're talking about long action, we're typically talking about rounds that could be going over 3,000 feet per second. So when we're looking at the distance ratings for the Mod 1, there's two caveats. One, if you are a professional training entity, you're a police department, SWAT team, ERT, or a military unit, we do allow the Mod 1 to be used as close as 50 yards with the long action rifles, so long as the ammunition that you are using is not soft point ammunition and it is not going above 3,000 feet per second. If the long action cartridge that you are engaging the Mod 1 with is over 3,000 feet per second, we would say you have to be back at 100 yards, and then for every 100 feet per second over 3,000, you have to add 25 yards to that distance. The reason we don't typically say that we allow soft point ammunition is soft point ammunition is actually extremely hard on the strike plate behind the rubber. I'm going to be using core lock 130 grain out of this 270 to just showcase to you guys that it will take it. But if you're using 300 Winchester Magnum and you're running things like 150 grain soft points, I definitely don't recommend that on the Mod 1. Now, if you're just a hobbyist or you're at an indoor range and you want to add Mod 1s to your ability to move and set up different shooting arrays on your range, we would say 100 yards with those long action rifles would be the minimum. And you want to control the people and the ammunition that's going down range on the Mod 1 to avoid the damage to the Mod 1 strike plate that could happen if someone's using improper ammunition. So I'm going to load up this 270. We're going to put 5 rounds on the Mod 1. We are at 50 yards. All right, let's check out those impacts. So we've got the Hornady match up here, 300 PRC. We've got the all copper hunting rounds. I stacked those in pretty tight on that use case there. We've got the ELDX hunting ammo with 300 PRC. So all this is 300 PRC. Then we got 270 Winchester. Those are the 130 grain core locked ammunition. And as you can see, the bullet holes on that look identical to everything else. So just reiterating, this is rated for long action rifles as well. Just remember all of those important talking points that I just discussed when I was laying behind the rifles. The question that so many people ask about the Mod 1 isn't about the long action rifles, believe it or not. The biggest question that I get with the Mod 1 every single week is, can you use a shotgun on the Mod 1? And the answer is, in professional use cases, yes, you can. But there are so many caveats with shotguns that I want to discuss, because there's obviously different choke types, there's different ammunition types, and because of that, there are some very, very stringent requirements to use the Mod 1 with shotguns. And I'm going to caveat this with saying, we only approve shotguns for professional use cases. So if you are a police department, a military unit, you're clearing rooms, for whatever reason you're still running a 12 gauge, you can run this on the Mod 1 with birdshot, buckshot, and slugs. There's some important information there though. You should always use lead ammunition. It is acceptable to use buckshot that is copper plated, but we don't want to be using turkey loads that are tungsten, anything stainless steel like some of the waterfowl loads, but birdshot is perfectly acceptable. The danger of birdshot is the fact that with a cylinder bore like this shotgun, even at close distances, the shot spreads out like crazy. We don't want the pellets impacting the frame, and we certainly do not want the pellets going beyond the bullet trap. And that's why I harp on so much, we'll talk about it at the end of this video, A bullet trap on an indoor range is not enough. You need secondary and tertiary containment setups beyond and beside and in front of the bullet trap to capture any missed rounds. That is especially prevalent with shotguns because of how the shot can spread out over distance. So when we're working with birdshot, we can shoot as close as 7 yards, and I'll demonstrate that. With buckshot, we can be as close as 15 yards. Slugs, again, are especially slugs, are only approved for professional controlled environments with trained people that have discipline and have executed excellent training and fundamentals with shotgun slugs. You can use slugs as close as 20 yards, but with any shotgun ammunition, if your rubber is worn out and there are holes, like you can see through the actual vulcanized rubber panel, do not engage the Mod 1 with shotguns. You have to make sure that your rubber is in excellent condition to be able to capture all the pellets and direct them down into the funnel the way that it is designed to do. So as long as it's in good, healthy condition, you're a professional end user, and you follow those distance recommendations, you can in fact use a shotgun. So shotguns are devastating, right? They're super powerful, tons of energy downrange, especially when using buckshot and slugs. But let's look at what those holes did. Now keep in mind, just like we showed you with the hollow point ammunition, you're gonna have a similar experience with slugs where they're gonna remove more rubber as they go through the target. You can see it's actually smoking out there still. It's kind of cool. But look at how nasty those holes are. And that's why I was saying the Mod 1 is reserved for very, very specific use cases with shotguns, because if you had an entire department running slugs on the Mod 1, if you put an entire day of range training with slugs, you likely could see the lifespan of the rubber, which is not the case for smaller rifles and smaller pistols. But as we displayed, it'll take it like a champ. So if you are a professional end user and you're training a lot with shotguns, it's perfectly acceptable on the Mod 1. Just remember, you will see the lifespan of that rubber, the vulcanized 2-inch panel, much faster with a 12 gauge. So our administrative team just let me know that I totally forgot to tell you that shotguns are cool and all, but I have a special treat that I want to show you that technically I did not design the Mod 1 for, but I'm certain it's going to take it. So let's get to that special treat here quick. All right, this is an abuse test with 375 Chi-Tac. So that was an abuse test with the 375 Chi-Tac. This trap is not designed or meant for the Chi-Tac, but if you are going to use high volume, long action rifles and really abusive rounds, there's a couple things you gotta watch out for. For one, don't shoot it at 50 yards like I did, because you will eventually have it pass through on the strike plate just because of the energy of rifles like that. But if you are gonna be using long action rifles, very high volume, The Mod 1 can be adjusted with this forward lean like this, and then it's gonna act more like a steel target system. But you gotta keep in mind that when you're passing through the rubber and you're impacting the strike plate, it doesn't have movement like a steel target. So you're focusing all of that energy on that strike plate, and that's why it's so important when you are replacing the rubber to be visually inspecting this strike plate. And if there's pivots, divots, dents, cracks, whatever, you also have to replace the strike plate when you are replacing that rubber. With most use cases, you'll never see that lifespan of that strike plate. But if you're using rifles like that, or you're running strictly 300 PRC or 300 Win Mag, at some point the strike plate does become consumable, even though it's our premium 1/2-inch AR-550, simply because you don't have any movement to absorb all of that energy. But again, I designed the Mod 1 forward thinking with that in mind, that you can have this aggressive forward lean, which is going to help with those impact energies just like it would with any other steel target system. So I think now that we've seen what the Mod 1 can handle, I think it's time to increase the stakes just a little bit, because I'm not super thrilled with how long this thing is held up on this range day. So now it's time for some freedom dumps. I'm gonna cover all the features of the Mod 1 trap. Before I do that, I wanna talk a little bit about the normal clean out procedure to empty the funnel. The thing that I wanna preface this part of the video with, I'm not in proper PPE. I don't have a respirator. I don't have the right gloves, the right lead cleaning equipment. There's other videos we can do, and our user manual goes into exactly how to handle this, but you just have to keep in mind that when you're cleaning lead is dangerous. You have to follow the right protocols and make sure that you're protecting your lungs and your skin from lead. You're doing it in a spot that has the proper ventilation, and you're using the proper reclamation steps based on your local regulations of how you can reclaim and recycle lead. But I'm gonna come around the back, Brenton will come up front and just kind of show you the bucket. I'm gonna pull the pin on the slide gate, and you'll see some of that lead just falling down. So I will pull that pin right now, and I'll pull that slide gate. And then when you're done, you can just simply replace the pin, replace the slide gate, and you've emptied out most of the funnel. Now, lead will stick around on the inside. You typically deal with that with a properly designed vacuum that has the right HEPA filters, the right lead filtration filters, not just blowing lead dust all over the place, but you would access that entire lower funnel, and we'll talk about that here in a second, by taking off the frame and removing the rubber. But in your daily routine, you should be pulling that slide gate, emptying out that lead to make sure you don't have massive buildup that's just accumulating in the bottom of that funnel. The features of the Mod 1 bullet trap are extensive. I spent a lot of time thinking about how to build a bullet trap better to eliminate the problems that I saw with the bullet traps on the market. And I know that sounds like a sales pitch. Everybody that makes a product says the same thing, so I'm not trying to bore you guys with details you might find unimportant, but it is critically important to understand why we designed the Mod 1 the way that we did, and the steps that we took to make sure that this is the most robust bullet trap on the market. One of the biggest mistakes that I've seen with bullet traps in general on the market is a low quality rubber. So we went with a 2-inch thick vulcanized rubber panel that is extremely dense. It's very heavy, very dense. It takes a ton of rounds before you meet the service life of it. Then we also built the entire frame out of 3/8-inch AR-550. This is not your normal run-of-the-mill AR-550 like everybody else uses. Again, I know most people are like, holy cow, that's a sales pitch. It's not. We are speccing this material specifically. It's the same exact steel used in all of our premium line of AR-550 targets. Those exact target systems that are rated for close range rifle engagements, this is that same steel. So a lot of other bullet traps use very weak steel on the sides. They are banking on the bullets being captured in rubber, and they cheap out on the sides, and what you end up getting is bullets and fragmentation exiting the sides. And I cannot tell you, and I cannot stress enough, how many ranges I've worked with that spent $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on bullet traps, and then in the first season of training, they have rounds already exiting the sides. To me, that was unacceptable. So we went with AR550 for everything, including the grab handles, including the front frame, including the funnel, including all the components on the back. It's all AR550. And then you can choose between a 3/8 inch strike plate or a 1/2 inch strike plate. If you are doing a lot of rifle work, I would steer you towards the 1/2 inch strike plate. It is a much better option. It is more expensive, but it gives you that longer lifespan for higher volume ranges. So those little details about using the proper material for the proper job is why you can take the Mod 1, engage it at harsh angles. You can engage it with wild cartridges at very close distances, so long as the rubber is in good condition. And I cannot stress that enough, because if you have massive craters missing from the rubber, that fragmentation mitigation is diminished. The rubber is what protects you from the fragmentation, whereas with a steel target system, we've got forward lean, and we have movement when the bullets are struck, which is what's directing all of that fragmentation down to the ground. When you're working with a fixed plate that does not have that movement, that rubber is an extremely important component. And a lot of other companies are using recycled rubber that is basically layers of rubber glued and pressed together. So when rounds go through, you're actually fragmenting out the rubber on the back of the trap. You can't see it right away, but in that first 1,000 rounds, your rubber's already failing. And to me, that was an unacceptable trait of current bullet traps. The other thing that I've seen with bullet traps is no air gap between the rubber and the strike plate. And what that means is if you have rubber directly up against the strike plate, when those bullets are fragmenting, they're fragmenting inside of the rubber, and that's just blowing the back of the rubber apart. So for us, we put a 1-inch air gap so the rounds go through the rubber, they impact the strike plate, they diminish all of their energy, and the frag can't come back through the rubber. So it does no harm to the back of the rubber versus the competition, which is using cheap rubber that's not manufactured properly with no air gap. So that rubber is disintegrated very, very quickly. I know some of you watching this are like, frick, man, I bought bullet traps and that's exactly what I'm experiencing. I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but maybe the Mod 1 is the next investment in your facility so you can just wipe your hands clean of all the headaches and the drama and the nonsense and the potential danger that those other target systems, those other bullet traps are causing you. When we look at the other features of the Mod 1, we've got the adjustable armored post. You can fine tune the height for your application. With us, we have this set at about 3'6". That gives enough room for a 5-gallon bucket. You can lower it a little bit and you can also raise it up a little bit. When we go on the back, as we've talked about, this thing does have adjustable lean angles, and I'll show that again for you because this is very, very important. If you want to engage with really heavy rifles, you would set that at the forward lean angle like this. And this is what's going to help diminish the energy of a larger, more potent cartridge. But also, if you are ascending a staircase, this allows you to engage at the proper angle on your Mod 1 trap, whereas other traps don't have that feature. And likewise, if you guys are descending staircases or you're in a stadium application and you want to be able to engage the Mod 1 in the proper angle for those engagements, having it at an inverted angle allows you to do that as well. There's another benefit to the adjustability of the Mod 1, and that's when it's time to maintain it. You're ready to replace rubber, you're ready to replace the strike plate. You simply lift it, rotate this thing all the way down, line the bolts up, and now you have a table space that you can work on. Nobody wants to deal with rubber that weighs 120 pounds when it's just inverted and falling all over you and getting lead everywhere. So the Mod 1 is designed in such a way that you lay it flat like a table, you go around the perimeter, there's a lot of 3/8 locking nuts, you take all of them off and the front frame can be removed. When it's time to maintain the trap, you do have to cut this caulk. It's a very special sealer that we use, and it does last a long time, but it doesn't last forever. So if you're noticing that you're getting lead splattering out through the seams, it's time to replace that caulk. Even if it's not time to replace the rubber, you may need to service that sealer. We do sell that, we have that available. It is not your standard hardware store caulk. Please don't go to the hardware store and just buy some silicone caulk and call it good. This is a very, very, very special caulk that is for this application. It flexes, it allows the rubber to move, and it keeps that lead from flying forward. The other thing that I did with the Mod 1, when we're talking about maintenance and design, is it's designed to vent air out the bottom and the back. If you sealed this thing up just completely airtight, what's gonna happen is you're actually gonna have air busting out of all the seams. We did seal all of the connection points. We put this basically a 3M adhesive all the way around between the strike plate and the body and between the frame and the body, and that helps mitigate the lead dust. You're never going to fully eliminate it because you're putting holes in the front of the rubber. So lead will escape out over time. And that's, again, just another reason why we have to have proper, adequate ventilation and a system that's designed to handle lead dust. A simple fan in a window in your basement is not good enough. It will just cause your entire house to be covered in lead. You've got to make sure that you're designing this stuff right. So from a usability standpoint and a maintenance standpoint, this is unmatched in the world of bullet traps. And because of the fact that every component can be taken apart on the inside, you are even able to replace the strike plate. So I know folks are always wondering, what's the lifespan of the system? What can I expect? Most of our highest volume clients are getting between 6 to 12 months of high sustained fire on one rubber panel. So you may find, depending on the volume and the type of cartridge that you're running, and especially as we showed with the hollow point and the flat point demonstration, if your department is running hollow point ammunition exclusively on the Mod 1s, or your unit is running ammunition like that, you're gonna get a shorter lifespan out of the rubber. It's still going to last a long time, but you will find that you're gonna be replacing that rubber panel more frequently. Again, it's very easy to replace it, to remove the frame, to get into the rubber, to get everything out. And we do stock those rubber panels in our shop. So if you need them, you can just reach out to our sales team. We can ship them out very quickly. Again, it's something that we always have on hand. It's easy for us to get out to you, and we ship each rubber panel with the proper adhesive for the seams. Again, very, very critical. Don't just skimp on that and use whatever caulk you find at the hardware store. You will find that it will not work. Ask me how I know. When we were trying to figure out what type of adhesive this system needs, it took forever to figure out what we needed. And it's a very special formulation to be able to handle the abuses of rifle fire, pistol fire, shotguns, and the like. The strike plate is another feature that I think is very important. I did not design this product, and frankly, I don't design any of our products with planned obsolescence in mind. I design things for people that are just like me, that work hard for their money, that want to spend money one time and then never have to worry about it again. But everything does have a lifespan. So if you find the lifespan of the strike plate, you remove the front frame, you remove the rubber, and then there's some 1/2 inch locking nuts on the back, and you can pull the entire strike plate out and you can replace it with a new strike plate. How long do those strike plates last? That is a question that we get very, very frequently. For most people, if you're using it properly and you're using proper ammunition, proper distances, it is going to last you many, 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 many years, even if you are firing millions of rounds downrange into bullet traps every year, like many of our clients do, especially our larger clients with indoor ranges. You will find that you likely will not see the lifespan of the strike plate. But as you are using the Mod 1 every single day, you should be inspecting the rubber, you should be inspecting that strike plate, and the moment that you see cratering or you see potential for bullet pass-throughs, then it's definitely time to replace that strike plate. Don't skimp on that. It is an expensive component, but it's very important because that is the thing that is stopping the rounds and making sure that they are not exiting your bullet trap. And that's just further reiterating the fact that you can't just buy this bullet trap, shove it in your basement, and call it good. If you don't have secondary and tertiary capturing capabilities inside of your indoor range, then the Mod 1 or any portable bullet trap for that matter is not right for you. What I mean by secondary and tertiary are ballistic walls beyond the bullet trap, beside the bullet trap, and above the bullet trap. So that if you miss or a round does something crazy and tumbles out of your gun and it's not flying properly and it misses the bullet trap entirely, you know, stuff happens when we're shooting guns. We have to make sure that we have those secondary and tertiary protective elements inside of our indoor ranges so that those missed rounds or those weird anomalies that could happen, or you sneeze when you're firing your pistol and you miss the trap entirely, we need to make sure that those rounds are captured. But as you can see with the Mod 1, from the way that we designed the base with the casters to be able to move around easily, the armored post, the adjustable lean angles, the AR-550 on every single component, the grab handles for easy movement and easy transport. This is not your normal bullet trap. This is the last bullet trap that you ever have to purchase. Many people underappreciate the level of detail and the attention to detail that we pour into every single product. And we get those objections from time to time where people are like, why are these products priced the way they are? And the reality is, I don't want to make the cheapest product. I want to make the best freaking product on the planet, period, no matter what we are touching. So because of that, we approach these systems in a totally different mindset. And I hope that this video depicted just how much effort we put into the Mod 1, designing it for you, so that you don't have to worry anymore about junk traps downrange that could hurt your unit, could hurt your department, could have rounds exiting and doing crazy stuff and damaging your facility. When you're building a multi-million-dollar indoor range, the last thing that you need is damage to your facility, that huge investment that you made. These Mod 1 bullet traps help you protect that investment, and they also allow a massive amount of versatility whenever we're training on indoor flat ranges, where normally you can't engage directly into the walls. I don't care what your range manufacturer says, if they're lining your walls with 1/4-inch AR-500 steel with just a little bit of ballistic or soundproof rubber over top of them, eventually if you fire into those walls, you're gonna create what I call our hot spots, where basically you're weakening the metal, and then you're gonna start chiseling away at the cement blocks, the concrete pour, or even worse, you're punching through stud walls and other stuff on the other side, which is extremely dangerous. So the Mod 1 was designed for folks that have those high-end ranges. They made a massive investment in their facility and they want to protect it. On top of that, the other folks that the Mod 1 is perfect for is any military unit, any police unit that's training, no matter what type of training you're doing, whether it's room entry, sniper engagements, hostage rescue, the Mod 1 can fit into that mold perfectly and perform above anything else that's on the market currently. So if you fall into any of those categories and that sounds like the perfect product for you, then the Mod 1 is probably the best accessory that you're gonna buy for your indoor shooting range or your shoot house ever. And I'm saying that as a biased individual because I poured my heart and soul into this back in 2017, working on what was originally the Mod 0, which became the Mod 1. And we just developed this system with you in mind so that you could have a better product downrange that's safer and longer lasting. We have lots of folks that are asking, can I use this indoors? The answer is yes, but again, you're gonna have to do the legwork with your local regulations. Not everywhere allows you to shoot guns indoors. And even if you have the blessing of your local township and you can skirt on through and have an indoor range, don't just buy this trap and then put it in your basement. Please understand that that is extremely dangerous from a ventilation standpoint. If you are designing your range, working with an HVAC company that has worked with the proper airflow techniques to recirculate the lead, the primer, the gunpowder smoke, all the stuff that happens when we shoot guns, then you're in a good spot. You're gonna find that that's a very big investment, but if you have the financing and the ability to do that, I'm all about people building ranges inside of their homes and having that capability of never having to leave their home while being able to train inside and indoors in any weather conditions. But you've got to just check all of those boxes off first. So if we sell a bullet trap to you and you buy it on our website, that's not us endorsing your end use. And that's extremely important for me to say, because you have to make sure that you are doing all of the other proper steps before you just buy a bullet trap. But if you have checked those boxes, the Mod 1's probably perfect for you too. And if you are just someone that's going to be shooting the Mod 1 inside, this is a forever product. And the only thing that you're going to have to really maintain are the sealant and the rubber, the vulcanized 2-inch panel. So if you guys want to learn more about the Mod 1 bullet trap, you can find it on our website, tatargets.com. We do have our user manual on the website as well. And I really want you to look at that user manual before you purchase the Mod 1 to make sure that it's the perfect fit for you. Inside of that manual, we go over all of the distance ratings, all the information we covered here. We go in depth. I show you the breakdown of the Mod 1, how you maintain it, how you can service it, and how you can expect the best amount of lifespan out of it and use it properly and safely. That's a requirement. Don't buy this thing and then use it without reading the manual. Nobody likes reading manuals, I get it, but this is very important for you to understand. So if that sounds like the perfect tool for your indoor range, hit us up, tatargets.com. If you want to talk to one of our sales guys, one of our customer service gurus, email us at info@tatargets.com. We'll put that down in the description as well. If you're just sick of all the nonsense in the market, this is the solution for you guys.